Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Football, Married Edition, your official new favorite place for all things fantasy football, NFL hot takes, questionable opinions, and just a little bit of marital disagreements to keep things interesting. We're your hosts, Amanda and Drew, and we're recording this episode on August 19th. I'm getting like the spidey sense of fantasy football season. I'm getting geeked out and excited to yell at my TV screen for 8 hours straight on Sunday, and I hope all of you are as well. Today, we are continuing our positional rankings, and we're going to dive into all things tight ends. So we're going to give you our top 12 tight end rankings, and we're also going to go over a tight end draft strategy to use as you move into your drafts coming up very, very soon. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty of this episode, I'm going to kick it over to my handsome hubby, Drew, here, and have him break down injury updates and news because we've got some good ones today.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in. Really pumped for the tight end episode today. But first, we've got some updates, some injuries from around the league, and then some signings to go over. So first one, real bad news for second-year wide receiver Jaden Higgins with the Texans. Tore his ACL. He'll be out for the year as long as it's confirmed that his ACL is torn. We should have that official information later today, but it looks like he'll be out for the year.
What does that do for you for the Houston offense at this point? Does that bump Nico Collins up in your opinion or down?
No, it has nothing to do with Nico Collins. No, it has nothing to do with Nico Collins. Could potentially bump Tank Dell up a little bit. But again, outside of Nico Collins, I'm not real high on any of the other receivers because you've got a few other ones there. Tank Dell coming back from injury. Xavier Hutchinson, he'll get a little bit more work, but you're talking about
relevant.
No, you're not talking about guys that should be real fantasy relevant for you, especially at draft time. The next one here, I believe, does make a big difference. You've got Alvin Kamara.
Did we speak this into the universe? Because we had mentioned that Alvin.
No, I will never wish injuries upon anybody.
Oh, never.
Right? Never, ever. Although this does help with Travis Etienne. So Alvin Kamara sprained his MCL. He'll be out at least a month. So, if you guys listen to the running back episodes, if not, go back and listen to it. We had talked about Alvin Kamara re-signing and his impact with Travis Etienne Jr. Just, again, reminder, Travis Etienne Jr., however you guys said it before, it's Travis Etienne Jr. So that's
get used to it.
If you get used to it, it's going to sound weird. But I'm higher on Etienne now. I'm going to move him up a couple spots because he should be getting receiving work, especially early. It's an MCL sprain. That's at least a month. So you're into the season for Kamara, and then who knows how long until he gets back. So yes, I'm going to move Etienne up a little bit.
You'll get it too.
Yeah, it'll take a while. Next one, Chargers center Tyler Biadasz, out indefinitely with damage to his ACL and additional injuries to his left knee. That's going to impact the Chargers. We spoke both on the quarterback episode with Herbert and on the running back episode with Omari and Hampton, how the offensive line was awful last year, how they've gotten two of their offensive linemen back that were hurt last year in Staley and Alt. Well, they brought in Biadasz this year to take over a lackluster center position. Would have been a huge upgrade. Now, obviously, another injury to that offensive line. Yeah. So, as of right now, I'm not going to lower any of the Chargers players until I get more information and figure out what this looks like with the rest of the offensive line. But, it's something to look out for, and it could potentially have an impact on how highly I'm willing to take an Omari and Hampton. He might drop down a couple spots, but as of right now, it's just let's wait and see what the reports are and timeline for Biadasz.
This is why we are team later in the season draft stuff, because this is the stuff that is going to keep happening. We're going to see injuries. You got to stay up on this information because unfortunately some of these injuries do have a domino effect for other players, and you want to draft a team that you feel confident in, not, oh my God, I didn't know about that injury that impacted my running back, right?
Yep, absolutely. And then the last one here is Najee Harris, who, as you guys remember, tore his Achilles in week 3 of last year on said Chargers. He just signed a 1-year contract with the Giants. As of right now, it's just a depth piece. I'm not expecting him to take much work from Cam Scattaboo. I think to me, it lowers Tyrone Tracy a little bit because it could impact some of those secondary players. but I don't think it's a big impact from Cam. Again, I don't expect Cam Scatterboo to get off to a super hot start. I think they're going to bring him back a little bit slower, but by end of the first quarter of the season, coming into the second quarter of the season, I think it's going to be all Cam, green lights all ahead. So I'm not too worried about that, and I'm not moving him from where I already have had Cam ranked at.
Yeah, I saw a video of Tyrone Tracy missing a nasty block in a preseason game, I believe, and it was like this meme of like guy misses one block and Harbaugh is like, call up Najee Harris, get him in here, I'm done with this guy. I was like, dramatic, and I like it.
Again, he's coming off an Achilles. That's a tough injury to come back from.
Big
So, and Najee wasn't the most explosive guy. He had already been, kind of trailing down in his career a little bit, less explosiveness. So I'm not worried about it.
Absolutely. All right. Before we dive into our top 12 tight ends rankings, like I mentioned before, we're going to talk a little bit about tight end strategy. We talked a little bit about quarterback drafting strategy and referred to the 1Z position. And a tight end is also a 1Z position. Now, there's a caveat there. Technically, you could start two tight ends. It's just not typically a favorable strategy unless you have a highly elite tight end that operates almost like a wide receiver, which you'll hear about once we get into our rankings here. But Drew, go ahead and walk us through the tight end strategies that you typically take into your drafts.
Yeah, so here's the big thing with a tight end position. Do not take a middle round tight end. Just don't do it. I'll explain why. The difference last year in tight end 3 versus tight end 10 in half PPR formats was 14 total points throughout the entire season.
Whole season, not a game,
the
season.
Whole season. So you're less than a point difference, tight end 3 to tight end 10. So why am I going to put draft capital in a 4th, 5th, 6th round tight end when I'm going to get basically the same production in the 9th, 10th, 11th round? It just doesn't make any sense. So unless you're going to take one of those top end elite guys that can truly outpace the rest of the position, it's just not worth it in those middle rounds. So just take the value at running back, at receiver in those middle rounds, build your team, build your depth, and then pick up a tight end at the end if you do not get one of those elite tight ends.
Yep.
I like having one of the elite tight ends because it's a position that I can set and forget, and it's also a huge advantage every week against other teams. So this year I'm comfortable with the top 5 guys, taking them up early in the draft. After the top 5 guys, I'm fading until the end of the draft, and I'm not worried about it until round 9, round 10, with one exception we'll get into a little bit.
Yeah, I just always will chime in and say, like, don't panic when you see a bunch of tight ends going. Let the other people take tight ends at appropriate times. Just sit on your fucking hands. Like, I think specifically, I know when I first started fantasy football, I would get very, like, panicked. Like, oh my God, I don't have one of those on my team yet. I need one of those on my team. Everyone else to select. Like, don't fall into that trap.
Yep.
Stand firm. You can take a tight end at very near end who might not do a lot, but you can stream the position. You can figure it out. There's not a big enough difference to waste that draft capital. Like Drew said, just stand firm in your decision, because if you don't, you'll be angry with their lack of production. You'll have to stream it anyways. And then you're pissed off that you didn't get a good running back or wide receiver that you wouldn't have had to stream.
Yeah, again, outside of those elite guys. If you want to take a Trey McBride early, a Brock Bowers early, my list, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, and then I put Tucker Kraft in that category. So for me, any of those 5 right around their ADPs, if you want to take them, they're all going in the top 4 rounds. Tucker Kraft's a little bit later, coming off an injury. We'll discuss him in a little bit. But I'm fine with any of those. But if there's a run on tight ends and you don't want to pay the draft price for one of those elite guys, just don't take one because you don't have a tight end in the 6th round. And oh my God, like Amanda said, you're freaking out. Just don't do it. It's not a big deal. Get one later. Continue to fill out your lineups with other positions and provide depth in those positions where you're going to start 2 to 5 running backs and 2 to 5 receivers every single
depth.
week.
Yes.
You need more of them. So you can
more
wait
depth,
on
more
those tight ends.
possibility. Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Well, let's dive into our top 12 tight end rankings. The tight end position is just different than the other positions when we talk about drafts and value and all of that. So we'll be a little bit more cut and dry when we talk about the guys at the top, because like Drew already mentioned, the discrepancy or disparity. That's not a word.
Discrepancy.
Is it discrepancy?
The
Isn't there
discrepancy
like
between them?
disparate? Never mind. Fuck you, Amanda.
You can
Okay.
disparage something, but that's not the word you're looking for.
Nonetheless, the discrepancy, I don't know, the value between, number 7 and number 13 is just not big enough to fucking worry about. So we'll get into our top 2, 1A, 1B, similar to our running back conversation and wide receiver conversation. We have 2 names, and that is Mr. Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. 2 guys at the top of that draft board. A little bit different for each of them, obviously, because we did not see Brock Bowers all year last year. So it shouldn't really make it harder, but for some people, we don't see obviously the full game development, but he's a force to be reckoned with. We sure did see a full season from Trey McBride, and holy shit, the numbers were insane. Trey McBride came up as the second leading in receptions. The only person who led behind him was Puka Nacua. He out-receptioned Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, like we talked about earlier, potential tight ends acting like wide receivers. We surely saw that from Trey McBride last year. So give me some feedback on your value, your opinion on Bowers versus McBride.
Yeah, both of them are absolutely amazing. They're both elite tight ends. Obviously, as you said, we didn't get a full season from Brock Bowers last year, and the games that he did play, he wasn't completely healthy in some of those. Still had 12 points per game in the 12 games that he played, which would have put him 4th in points per game behind Kittle, McBride, and Tucker Kraft, right? And again, that's not a fully healthy. That was with a terrible quarterback last year in Geno Smith and a really bad team, bad coaching, bad everything, right? I expect I expect Bowers to take over that number 1 spot this year. Biggest reason why, again, better quarterback play, Clint Kubiak, new coach, and a little bit of a fallback for Trey McBride. He had such a ridiculously good year last year. 11 touchdowns, career high. Again, you had mentioned 126 receptions for a tight end is absolutely insane. They also threw the ball. The Cardinals threw the ball at an alarming rate last year because their team was awful. Now, their team will be awful again this year. However, new head coach, they're going to try to run the football a little bit more, and you just can't predict what Trey McBride did again. So we both have Bowers taking that step forward a little bit, but again,
also,
both are
even
great.
though like receiving core competing with Bowers, there isn't a lot of amazing talent there to compete with him either. So you're looking at more options with McBride. We've got Marv, we've got oh my goodness,
Wilson.
There we go. We've got Wilson. So there's just more competition for McBride. Jeremiah Love, coming in. So, there's just more there. There's less competing against Bowers and better quarterback play and new coaching. So, I just think that there's a lot of, wins there, which I agree. And might I add, if you're looking for a team name, the Bower Rangers would be a great one if you end up with Brock Bowers. And then Be My McBride if you get Trey McBride. Okay? Great team names for the year.
Speaking of Power Rangers, what was your favorite Power Ranger color? We're millennials, so
I'm a
we
fucking
watched
girl.
it when we were kids. Oh, you were pink, weren't you?
Pink. I'm a girl.
Yeah. Black would have been my favorite.
Well,
but again,
yes,
my
that's
last
because
name's
his last
Black,
name.
So,
Drew's a black stan through and through. Anytime there's a color in a game, it's just black because it's his last name and he reps it strong. It's my last name now too, I guess. But, nonetheless, moving on to number 2. You have 2. 3. Hello. 3 listed at 2 here.
No. That's tier 2. So, yeah, again,
tier 2
when you're
in the
looking at tiers,
okay.
Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, those are going to be your elite of the elite tight ends.
And they're going, I guess we didn't mention this, they're going in that mid-second round, essentially.
You're going to see them, you got to know your league, but
yes.
You could see them going anywhere from the end of the first all the way to the early 3rd round. It just depends on the value that your league has. But I'm okay anywhere in the 2nd round taking them.
Me too.
It's a positional advantage that you don't get that big of an advantage at any other positions typically. So I'm okay with that. Again, if you do take one of those, don't take your quarterback early. Wait a little bit later. You don't want to take both onesies. Yep.
All right. Well, we have Warren and Loveland next, and I wonder, do you have Warren valued above Loveland or below Loveland?
I have Warren above Loveland.
Interesting.
Again, Loveland came on strong in the playoffs last year. However, didn't have as good of a regular season. He only finished with 8.5 points per game last year. Didn't do a whole lot early in the year. came on strong, like I said, but Tyler Warren, he was on pace to be a great elite tight end last year until Daniel Jones got hurt. Not to mention they lost Michael Pittman, so there's more target share available that I believe Warren will be. I think Warren's the number one target on that team this year. I do not think that Loveland's the number one target. They still have Roma Dunze. They still have Luther Burden. I see Warren as the number one on the Colts, much like McBride is the number one target on the Cardinals and Bowers is the number one target on the Raiders. So I see Warren ahead simply because of that, but I don't see a big difference between them.
No. Pretty close.
I see you have those flip-flops, so
I
why
do.
Loveland over Warren?
I think just from the simple fact of if we compare the work with what Loveland and Warren did, Loveland did more with the work that he got as opposed to what Warren did. So while Warren got more targets, more receptions, Loveland did more with the receptions that he received. So Warren got 10.8 yards a reception, 4 touchdowns. Loveland got 12.3 yards a reception and 6 touchdowns. So he just did more with the work. And when I'm looking at a tight end, I want a tight end who's not only going to catch and then be done. I want one who's going to fight and get me more yardage and go for that. I see that with Loveland.
Loveland's play style. I mean, he's a more athletic,
tight end.
Loveland's the one that he's a tight end that will catch a pass over the middle and break a 70-yard touchdown. Warren won't do that.
The ceiling is higher with Loveland's potential of being that more strategically athletic tight end. I want that on my team, and if they're that close in ratings, I'm going to take my pick and go.
Yeah, I think format, your league format, can make a difference here.
Yeah.
I think if you're playing in a PPR format, I think Tyler Warren has an edge. But if you're playing in half PPR, you're playing in a standard league, I wouldn't mind going Loveland because, again, you're not getting as many points for those receptions, so those bigger plays and that yardage total makes a little bit more of a difference. So I don't mind that at all. And both of those guys obviously in tier 2. And I talked earlier in the strategies about I have 5 guys that I'm comfortable taking earlier in the draft, and then I'm punting the position to later. I have Tucker Kraft up there with that grouping of 5 tight ends that I'm comfortable taking earlier in the draft. Again, I'm not taking Tucker Kraft in the second round like I am Bowers and McBride. So again, ADP, where you're comfortable at. I'm comfortable with Bowers and McBride anywhere at the late first into the second round. I'm definitely comfortable with Warren and Loveland. Right now they're going around the 3-4 turn. I'm comfortable in that area taking them. Tucker Kraft right now in the 6th round, I think is an absolute steal. If he stays in the 6th round, I will take him every single draft that I have. I'm even comfortable taking him at the end of the 5th round to try to jump some other people that might be thinking the same thing. He was absolutely incredible last year. His stretch, he was on fire. 12.6 points per game would put him second last year, only to Trey McBride. And then he got hurt 8 weeks into the year, right? So his pace is amazing. They have consolidated more of the targets. Jordan Love really liked using him. I think he's a steal, so I'm comfortable taking him as well before I punt the position till later on. So what are your thoughts on Tucker Kraft?
No, I agree with you that Tucker Kraft is warranted to be in that conversation, specifically where he's going at from an ADP standpoint. He was on fire. He was lighting up. And I mean, that was it was your set and forget guy last year, and you felt really good about it. Also, your team name should be Kraft Mac and Cheese if you draft him.
I think that might be copyrighted.
Oh, but no, it's fine. I'll go copyright infringement and make it work. Nonetheless, I agree with you on Tucker Kraft. The only name I would add to that conversation is you don't value Harold Fannin Jr. in the same lens of Tucker Kraft. I mean, I know he's on your booty hole Browns, but
no, I do not see Fannin in Kraft. No,
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 because of the offense, because of the quarterback situation.
Because of the quarterbacks, because the team,
even though he thrived
scoring opportunities.
Outside of it last year.
No. Yep. Still out.
Okay.
Yep.
That is the only guy that I put in that conversation that I would take a shot on. Simply from pure athletic ability and how much he was used and the jump
He's a great
chains.
player, but I don't trust Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders, and they brought in. They have a better receiving core this year, so I don't think that his target share will be as high as it was. I don't think it'll be better. Yeah, I don't think it'll be better. And again, the difference in he had 9.4 points per game last year, while Travis Kelce had 9.1. Dallas Goedert had 10.3 last year, and he's going in the 10th round. So why am I going to take somebody? Yeah, I don't think the ceiling's there. And if I'm going to waste, or not waste, but if I'm going to use for him, a 6th round draft choice, I need more than what I can get in the 10th round. And I would rather take Dallas Goedert in the 10th, 11th round, because I think at the end of the day, they're going to end up being about the same points per game. I think Harold Fannin will be more consistent week to week. But again, how many touchdowns is he going to score this year? How many touchdowns are the Browns going to score this year? So
No, you're right. I don't disagree with you. I think we're looking at what his performance was like last year, and everyone can get a little sparkle in their eye. But no, I agree with you. That's, I think, a big part of these tight end conversations is really looking at specifically these guys we're getting deeper and we're going to start to talk about. We'll move on, under Tucker Kraft, we had Harold Fannin Jr., which his ADP is 6. So like he's going in the 6th round. It's high for that. And so like, again, who else are you giving up in the 6th round is what you have to think about there. Underneath him is we have, George Kittle. Well, technically Sam Laporta and Kyle Pitts are ranked in the 6th round as well. We do have George Kittle valued higher than them. As long as George Kittle can come back healthy, I think that's a solid decision. If you can get George Kittle in the 8th round, I think that's an absolute steal, and I do value him ahead of Laporta and Pitts as well.
Yes. That's the one caveat to what I had mentioned earlier in the strategies of if you don't get one of those top 5 guys, punt the position to double-digit rounds or 9th round or later. It's George Kittle. He's the only caveat, because if he was not coming off of an injury late last year, he wouldn't be in the 8th round ADP.
Correct.
I don't think he'll stay there. I think he'll move up, but he wouldn't be that low. So, and his potential, his top end potential is very high, given that Brock Purdy loves throwing to tight ends. Their wide receiver room is already banged up, and in the red zone, Kittle's he's a force, and Brock Purdy's very good at throwing to tight ends in the red zone.
We watched Tonjes thrive
just
when Kittle was out last year.
Just look at what Tonjes did last year when Kittle was out.
And he's not George Kittle.
No. So, and again, 12.1 points per game last year in 11 games when he was healthy. That is a difference between the 9 points per game that you can get in the 10th round, or what Fannin gave you last year with 8.5 points. So his ceiling's a lot higher. This is one that depends on when you draft. As you get closer to your draft, look at the reports on, is he going to be back week 1? How long until he's at full strength? If it looks like he's going to play week 1, I don't expect him to be at full strength, but if it looks like he's going to play week 1, that means his timeline to be back at full strength is probably going to be, game 4, game 5, in that range. Well, then I'm okay taking him, especially if he's in the 8th round. I'm okay taking him in the 7th or 8th round, and probably just picking up another tight end in the double-digit rounds that I feel comfortable with, has a good, as a fill-in guy that's got a good schedule earlier in the year. Yep. So that's one where I would then maybe take 2 tight ends, where, again, if you're getting one of the elite guys, don't take 2 tight ends. It's stupid.
No.
But if you get Kittle in the 8th, that's the one middle-round pick that I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that because his upside's so high.
Yeah, always a little nuance and caveat there, right? But no, Drew brought up a good point of like when you're, streaming tight ends as well, specifically if you are taking one of these lower tiered guys and maybe they just aren't performing, you don't want to play them that week, or you want to drop and move on, you can always look at strength of schedule of what these teams are facing from a positional standpoint. You'll find that some weeks a tight end plays a very easy defense that doesn't protect against the tight end well, meaning that they can scheme up more to the tight end, which tends to bode well if you play the game correctly and you look at things right. It works out pretty well in your favor. Moving on down our list here, we have Sam Laporta and Kyle Pitts valued next. And if you listened to the podcast last year, I talked about Kyle Pitts and I called him Pitty Pitts because I dislike Kyle Pitts to my core. And I do value Sam Laporta ahead of Kyle Pitts. Simply, we've talked about this ad nauseum already, but again, just trust in the offense, trust in the quarterback more than what I'm seeing out of the Falcons room right now. How do you feel about, Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts getting deeper into this list here?
Right now, they're still in the no-go zone for me, so
yeah.
I'm not interested in them. I'm going to pass on them with where they're being drafted at.
Sixth round drafts. Yeah, I'm not picking them in that
round.
round.
Again, that to me is the dead zone. I'm not interested in either one of those. Kyle Pitts finished as tight end 2 last year, and it was almost entirely in one
game.
week.
Yeah, didn't he score like 40 points one week?
45 points. It's the most points a tight end's ever scored in a single week, and it just happened to be in the fantasy playoffs. So, like, if you had him, maybe you have an affinity for him. The only thing I will say that could be a positive for Kyle Pitts, and again, I'm not interested in the 6th round because of ADP, but if he were to happen to drop in the probably 8th round is where I'd be interested in him. He finished the year 15, 15, 45, 18, 3, and 11 points. So that's great. Different team, different system, different quarterback. So how is that going to work out? It is a Kevin Stefanski offense, which has produced some pretty valuable tight ends. David Njoku. For some reason, I cannot remember who they had right before Njoku. Oh, Austin Hooper had a good year with the Browns. But I just don't like his ADP, so I'm out where that's at. Again, if he drops down to the 8th round, I'll take him, but I'm not taking him in the 6th round.
No, I agree. In the 8th round, then you're comfortable in this range where we move on to our next pick, which is Dalton Kincaid and Dallas Goedert are valued in Dalton Kincaid in the 8th round right now ADP, and then Dallas Goedert 10th round ADP. And I'll be honest, if I'm getting deep down in my draft board, I'm probably going to go reach Dallas Goedert before I went to Kincaid.
Dallas
I'd probably
Goedert,
wait. Yeah. What'd I say?
I don't know, but it wasn't Goddard.
It wasn't right. I'd probably wait at that. Unless for some reason, like I did go Josh Allen and I didn't get anything else and I wanted to take a shot on Dalton Kincaid later and have an upside of a stack there when I don't love a quarterback tight end stack, but like, maybe then I'd go Kincaid over Goddard, but that's the only reason I would.
It's still to me in the 8th round. So, we have Kincaid ranked as our 10th tight end and Goddard as our 11th tight end for the year. But you're almost 3 rounds different in ADP. So you've got Kincaid going 806 right now and Dallas Goedert almost at the 10-11 turn, almost
10-11 turn, yeah.
The 11th round. And to me, Dallas Goedert, if I don't get one of those top guys, Dallas Goedert is the target that I'm going to look for late in the draft.
Agreed. Because
he's going so late and his tight end or his touchdown potential. He scored 11 touchdowns last year, and I don't see where Philadelphia is going to get their touchdown production from in the passing game. If
he had
15
red zone targets last year. 15 red zone targets.
I don't see that changing.
No.
They brought in another tight end in Eli Stowers in the draft, but has not been good camp reports so far. It's still Goddard. He's still going to be the main guy. You brought in Mekhi Lemon, who's been injured at receiver. You got rid of A.J. Brown. Dontavian Wicks coming over from the Packers is getting a lot of attention during camp as the wideout too. I'm not worried about him taking those, red zone targets away. Plus, you don't have A.J. Brown in the red zone, and Devontae Smith being a smaller guy, he's not typically a red zone receiver. So to me, I don't see Goddard taking any step back from last year, and he finished at as the tight end 4 last year. Again, 10.3 points per game. In the 11th round, if I can get 10 touchdowns, 500 yards, and 60 catches, great. That'll be tight end 5 or 6, and it's going to be a great value. And I'm not wasting a pick in the 6th round to go get you. You mentioned Fannin you liked earlier. Well, I'd rather have Goddard and Christian Watson in the 6th round than have Harold Fannin and, I don't know, Calvin Austin at receiver in the 10th. I mean, it's a throwaway pick. You're never going to use that guy. So.
At least you're going to use these guys. Yeah. You know what Dallas Goedert is? A vegetable. Just a solid-ass guy.
Sure.
He's a fucking vegetable of tight ends. And I also think our next one, number 12 on our tight end board, Jake Ferguson, is also a really fucking solid vegetable. You get good draft capital for him. He's going around the 9th round right now. Maybe he falls a little bit more there, depending on how your team likes to draft. But I also think he's a solid fucking vegetable as well.
Yeah, so here's where we start to differ a little bit, and it's the top 12 tight ends. We have 5 guys listed that all could be the 12th tight end.
Correct.
Because it doesn't really matter at this point in the draft. It's who do you think has the potential. These are all guys that you're probably not going to have on your roster the entire year. We've got Jake Ferguson with the Cowboys. You've got Travis Kelce with Kansas City, Mark Andrews with Baltimore, so that's 3 older guys. You've got Brenton Strange with Jacksonville, and Isaiah Likely with the Giants, right? I don't love any of these guys. If I had to take my shot on any of these 5 later in the draft, I'm probably going. I don't like any of them really, but Mark Andrews is probably going to be my 12th, and that's very much in the same way that I like Dallas Goedert. It's red zone chances. Isaiah Likely's not there anymore.
True.
So and Lamar Jackson likes throwing to the tight end position. So I think if you consolidate that position all the way down back to just Andrews, look, he's not going to be a top 5 guy like he was in the past, but I think you can get some okay production.
Maybe it'll be another goose egg of Mark Andrews. Remember when he goose egged like 3 fucking weeks in a row or something? He just was not. I think it was
Isaiah
last
Likely
year.
Did the same. Isaiah Likely did the same thing last year.
They just
but
weren't
again,
fucking
it's a
using
new
Isaiah
regime.
Likely. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I don't love any of these guys. I don't like Jake Ferguson at all unless one of those 2 receivers
Gets hurt.
in CeeDee Lamb or George Pickens. If one of them is hurt, I'm going to stream Jake Ferguson that week because he typically steps in very well. But if you look at the splits between if both receivers are there versus if one of them is gone, Jake Ferguson's only valuable when one of those 2 receivers is gone. So I'm not looking to draft him or play him if both CeeDee and Pickens are healthy.
You know what the most shocking thing is I'm looking at right now? Did
Travis Kelce was tight end 3?
Tight end fucking 3? Are you joking?
Yep.
Why did that not feel like that at all? Like I would have,
because he played 17 games and he caught 76 passes. He just caught the ball and did nothing with it.
Nothing else, yeah.
Again, he can still provide value. He does not have a tight end 1 ceiling anymore. Why I have him down so far this year from where he was, 1, because I saw him play last year and it wasn't great. He's definitely slowing down.
Wow.
2 is Rashee Rice is back. The reason that he ended up being tight end 3 last year was because Rashee Rice got hurt. The beginning of the year, it was all Rashee Rice, and he took those short to medium routes that Travis Kelce built his career off of. So I see him falling back, and he also wasn't on the field as much last year because his body couldn't handle it. So you saw more of the backup tight ends in the game. You're just hoping that he can be a red zone threat that he's been in the past, but I don't see it happening. And his ADP is not that bad now. So if you take him in the 9th, 10th round, if you punt the position down there, sure.
I was going to say you're not giving that much up for him.
I just don't think your upside's there. But if you want him on your team, fine with where he's at going ADP wise.
Go with the guy you believe in. Too high. No. Don't trade anything for him. Don't do anything crazy. But if you like him, you want him on your team, whatever the reason might be, you can get him at a good value this year. So it's not in, again, that danger zone we talked about of places where you just don't really want to be taking a tight end because it's not worth it. He at least is not, you're not giving anything up for him at that point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the tight end position it feels less sexy in my opinion. I don't know why, but it just does not feel as sexy as our other positions.
Tight ends are some of the best players in position. They got a block.
They do. They have to do more.
They're half lineman and half receiver. You got to love
big ass
guys.
Dudes. Those guys are huge too.
Plus, they've got some awesome personalities.
They do have fun. Most of them are a little wild and crazy, and I like it. I also think there is a lot of good fantasy football names for you out of these tight end positions, which if you're not thinking about your fantasy football name, I'm a girl, okay? We think about this shit. We get real excited for it. I am typically a fan of basing your entire personality for that year off of one singular player, and I think that's the best way to do it.
I just thought of one. If you're a cat person,
there you go.
And you get George Kittle, you could be Kittle and Bits.
That's cute. See,
or is that a dog
I like
person? Kibble and Bits. I guess that'd be a dog person.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Kibble and Bits. Isn't that
I think
a dog
you're just
food?
thinking cat, Kittle. Yeah.
Maybe that's a dog person. But either
Kittle
way,
and Bits. I like it.
Kittle and Bits.
I like it. You can be Petty Pitts if you want to draft Kyle Pitts and just be BO the entire year. You can go for it. Do you, dude? I don't care.
Laporta me another glass of wine.
Laporta me a beer.
Another glass of wine.
Yeah, there's so many good. What was I? Last year I was picking my nose. I did have George Pickens on my team. I thought that was fucking funny. And then I was the mustard man because I had Bijan and I love mustard. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up our positional breakdowns, or all of our positional breakdowns. We've officially now recapped. If you're listening to this now, we've recapped all the positions. So if you missed an episode, I don't know what you're doing. Stop, go back, watch our other episodes. Also, do us a solid favor. Engage with us on some of these episodes. Tell us what you want to see. You can tell us we're dumb and we suck at this and that we don't know what we're talking about. Don't do that to me, though. I'm kind of sensitive. You can do that to Drew, though. He's a brick shithouse, steel wall. But give us some feedback. Tell us how you like things. Tell us what you want to see more of. And we have some upcoming episodes. We have our values and bust episode. We have 10 things you need to know before draft day. And we will be doing an episode called Our Ride or Dies. This is going to be the guys we're planting our flags on. People we feel very, very passionate about that we are choosing as our ride or dies for the fantasy football season, that we will see through all the ups and all the downs. Make sure you follow us on social media. We are Let's Talk Football Married Edition on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. Follow us everywhere so you never miss an episode. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Peace.